Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we have a unique and, frankly, thrilling mission ahead of us. We're stepping completely outside our usual wheelhouse of politics and economics.
Yeah, we are. We're diving into a sprawling 15-chapter saga, a fictional Glee alternate universe, to perform a deep psychological and relational analysis.
Specifically, we're tracking the relationship arc of Finn Hudson and Rachel Berry, a pairing, I should add, that the sources often call finchel.
And this is, it's a remarkable set of source material. It's built around the ultimate high-stakes romantic trope, the hitman who falls for his target. But the real challenge for us, and for you listening, is the structure. This narrative is deliberately nonlinear. So critical context, trauma, even betrayals, they're revealed completely out of chronological order.
So our mission today is to follow that exact scattered roadmap. We have to navigate those time jumps and, those sudden devastating reveals to figure out the core viability of this relationship. Can love truly survive a foundation that's built on professional deception, a lethal contract, and the constant threat of assassination? I guess we're analyzing whether love can conquer a deadly dossier.
And the whole thing, the center of gravity, is Finn Hudson. He's an operative for a clandestine organization called Ajax, and he's bound by this very strict code of vigilante justice.
Great.
He's assigned to eliminate Rachel Berry based on a highly specific and, as we find out very quickly, a very fake dossier. And when his intense, burgeoning love for her collides head-on with the code, something has to break.
So we're looking at a relationship where one partner's entire professional identity is literally the execution of the other.
Exactly. And that identity has to be dismantled piece by piece for the relationship to even have a chance.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start not with the romance, but with the specific defining trauma that built the man who would eventually hold the contract on Rachel's life. So we're adhering to the source structure, beginning with the origin story revealed in Chapter 2.
Chapter 2, it's starkly titled Yesterday's Ghosts, and it really acts as the critical prologue. It establishes Finn's entire worldview. As a kid, he witnessed the aftermath of his father's murder.
And the local police, corrupted or maybe just indifferent, immediately dismissed it. They called it a junkie suicide.
And that's not just a detail, right? That's the genesis of Ajax's whole purpose. Finn knew the truth. He saw the men leave. He saw the planted evidence.
So this foundational trauma, first the loss of his father, then his mother's subsequent suicide, it created this profound sense of abandonment. And I guess the realization that the official systems, the police, the courts, they were never going to serve justice for people like him.
That vacuum is exactly where Sue Sylvester, the founder of Ajax, steps in. The sources refer to her organizations in these very dramatic terms. The Chocolate Factory and the Thunderdome.
And these weren't therapy groups.
Oh, not at all. They were hyper-disciplined environments designed to take broken, abandoned kids and give them structure, purpose, and most importantly, a means of fighting back.
We should probably spend a moment here, because this foundation is everything that Finn risks losing. The Chocolate Factory instilled the Ajax Code. Absolute secrecy, unwavering loyalty, and, the pursuit of justice where the law fails.
Right. He wasn't just trained to fight. He was chosen for his patience and what the source calls the fire in his belly. He was trained specifically to be the sword when all the shields have failed.
So his entire life, his food, his housing, his brotherhood with guys like Puck and Mike, his whole sense of purpose, it's all built on this foundation of structured violence and secrecy?
Precisely. His dedication to this vigilante code, it's not just a job. It is a trauma response. So for him, breaking that code means ripping out the very stitches that are holding his past together.
Which is what makes his immediate internal conflict, which we see in Chapter 5, so powerful.
Chapter 5, Discordant Phase Shift, it jumps us directly to the present-day storyline. Finn is on his recon mission, codenamed Operation Tony Girl, or OTG.
OTG. I find that codename so interesting. It feels flippant, almost casual, like it's meant to minimize the target and help him maintain that professional distance.
I think that's exactly it. His assignment is meticulous, detailed surveillance. He's tracking her through rehearsals, her morning jogs in Central Park, just the real minutia of her daily life. He's supposed to be finding the dirt needed to justify the contract.
But the dossier, it just immediately starts to crumble under the weight of reality.
Completely. His professional observation directly contradicts the file. The dossier alleges corruption, mob ties, but what he sees are Squeaky clean, boring routines.
It's almost comical. He watches her at a mobile pet adoption fair, cooing at pit bull puppies and cuddling kittens.
And the internal monologue here is just so powerful. The file suggests her charity work is a front, like for coded transactions, but he's just observing genuine, almost absurd kindness.
And his surveillance logs start to betray him, don't they? They shift from that clinical data bus routes, timing, security gaps, to what are basically accidental diary entries.
Yeah. He notes her singing off-key on the subway to make people smile, and then he admits to himself, made me smile anyway.
So here's the dark irony. The hitman, who is fully committed to his target's demise, is being charmed into this crushing moral conflict by her genuine, almost cartoonish goodness.
He realizes he's fighting a losing battle against what he calls a burgeoning obsession. He has to force himself to repeat this mantra over and over, just do the job, Hudson.
And this is where that nonlinear structure really hits you, because right at this moment of peak internal crisis, we get a flashback to 3 years ago detailing the founding of the Raven's Nest bar by his brother Puck. Okay, but why is that specific flashback inserted right here? It seems to interrupt the tension of the surveillance mission.
I think it's placed there very deliberately to juxtapose his two lives. In the flashback, the brothers, Finn and Puck, they discuss the inherent toxicity of the Ajax life.
Right, and Finn's reliance on these positive, creative outlets for balance.
Exactly. Specifically his drumming and his food truck, Huddy's home style. Puck even notes that the food truck is the best investment of all.
Ah, okay, so the author uses this flashback to remind us that Finn has actively sought some kind of civilian stability, even though his professional life is built on violence.
Yeah.
So it shows you, the listener, that his attraction to Rachel isn't just lust. It's a deep yearning for that normal, balanced life that the food truck and the drumming symbolize. Just makes the upcoming betrayal feel so much more devastating.
Exactly. The need for that balance is what makes him so vulnerable. Which brings us immediately to Chapter 6, Wayne, Want, and War Within, where that professional distance is just completely obliterated.
Rachel, who is tipsy and completely unaware of his lethal role, just wanders into the Raven's Nest, the very heart of the Ajax operation.
And she calls him Soldier Boy. That nickname, it just immediately sticks, and it functions as this, verbal undoing of his entire professional persona.
She sees the rigid structure, the control, the potential violence. But she interprets it romantically. She sees it as protection, not as danger.
And this leads directly to relationship risk number 1. Instant compromise of the mission. She asks him to dance, she initiates the kiss, and Finn, this operative who is trained to resist high-level physical torture and interrogation.
He's completely helpless.
Utterly. It's described not as a kiss, but as a rocket launcher impact. Hot, wrong, but unstoppable.
I have to pause here. If Finn is trained to resist torture, how can a kiss from a tipsy person completely dismantle years of professional training and the entire code he lives by? Does this suggest the code was always, weaker than his deep, unfulfilled desire for authentic human connection?
I would argue, yes, absolutely. The code was built on vengeance, which is a negative emotion. It provided structure, but it never provided fulfillment. So when Rachel offers this pure, positive, unadulterated connection, the negative foundation of Ajax is just instantly challenged. He carries her out of the bar, still out cold, and he notes the profound irony that if she were actually guilty, she would be dead by now.
So his impulse to protect her has already overridden his mission brief.
Already. And the breach continues, dangerously. Days later, Rachel tracks him down at his civilian outlet, Huddy's home style. She's sober this time, she's intentional, and she initiates a sexual encounter in the cramped food truck space.
This just cements the transition. Finn is now entirely compromised.
He knows it. He admits internally that he's so fucked right now there weren't words. He is deliberately engaging with the target, risking mission failure, exposure, and potentially both of their lives, because the emotional magnetism is just stronger than any professional logic.
And the pace just accelerates intensely from there into Chapter 7, Waxing Gibbous. Now, Rachel is the one attempting to bridge their extremely different worlds.
Right. She tells Santana she wants to understand Finn's heavy life, and she agrees to go to a shooting range, even though she fundamentally hates guns.
This gives us our first big relationship pro. We see Finn's protective instincts completely supersede his professional objectivity.
Oh, totally. At the shooting range, he is gentle, he's patient, he's massaging her shoulders to steady her aim, urging her to breathe. He's focusing on training her, on caring for her, rather than maintaining that necessary killer distance.
And this shift is immediately recognized by his mentors. Coach Shannon, their hunting trainer, observes this whole dynamic, and she delivers this pivotal, metaphorical line.
"Looks like she nailed you hard," said her mask.
And she's not talking about the paper target.
No, she's talking about his heart. Shannon's verdict is that he is a goner, kiddo. She recognizes that Finn's control, the very thing that made him such a successful operative, has been transferred entirely to his commitment to Rachel.
And that observation is necessary for us to understand why he takes the next irreversible step.
Which is the immediate verdict on the mission. Finn meets with Brody Weston, the guy who created the dossier, and he declares the intel is garbage.
He officially calls off the hit for now citing a lack of proof and the strong possibility that Rachel is being framed.
This is the first monumental sacrifice. Finn has chosen Rachel over the direct mandate of Ajax, though he masks it with professional skepticism. Brody, the messenger, is left terrified because he knows the power of Ajax and that he delivered faulty information, which puts his own life at risk now.
So if we synthesize part one here, the relationship is intensely magnetic, built in this immediate physical chemistry and emotional connection that overrides all of Finn's professional discipline.
But, and this is a huge but, it is founded entirely on Finn's decision to maintain a massive lethal lie to save her life and to keep her close. The foundation is a romantic choice resting on a bedrock of total potential betrayal.
Right, but the danger doesn't just stop because he calls off the hit. In Chapter 8, Interference, Rachel is devastated by a rapidly spreading internet smear campaign.
Yeah, a deep fake photo appears that suggests she has these highly compromising ties to a mobster named Vincent Morello. This proves that someone else is still very invested in bringing Rachel down.
So the stakes immediately jump from surveillance to active sabotage. And Finn, because he's still maintaining the secret, can only offer this limited promise. Me and Michael handle it. You just focus on your show.
But the fact that she is being so actively targeted and demonized suggests the original dossier wasn't just faulty, it was a deliberate setup from the beginning.
And this is confirmed by Brody Weston, who, in a panic, reveals the true peril of the situation.
Brody is Sugar Mata's boyfriend, and he tells Finn that Sugar, who is impatient with Ajax's slow progress, went and hired a second fixer.
He says that in their world, you have to have backups for everything.
Right. And Brody is petrified, rightly assuming that Finn's team will eventually target him once they realize the dossier was a complete fabrication.
So this segment confirms two critical dangers. One, the fake dossier was orchestrated to smear Rachel. And two, the second fixer is still active, making Rachel a genuine target, regardless of Finn's intervention.
We then move to Chapter 10, Waning Crescent, where Finn is attending Rachel's final rehearsals, and he's just wrestling with the imminent necessity of telling her everything. He resolves to confess the entire truth, his job, the contract, the fake dossier on Saturday night.
And he's struggling with that internal battle, right? Protecting her peace versus revealing the predator I really am. This delay, this choice to maintain the lie until the last possible moment, that's a crucial character flaw.
It is, but he gets validation from a really unexpected source in this chapter, Kurt Hummel.
Okay.
Kurt's out with Rachel, and he admits he knows Finn is a hitman. Yet instead of warning her away, Kurt tells her he thinks Finn is the best thing to ever happen to her, and he urges her not to let him go.
That's fascinating. Why does Kurt, who was recently attacked and hospitalized himself, accept and even champion the hitman?
Well, I think it's because Kurt knows genuine violence, but he also now knows genuine protection. He recounts how Finn checked on him after the assault. So for Kurt, Finn's darkness is secondary to his demonstrated capacity for loyalty and care.
So this external validation confirms Rachel's own instincts. If Kurt, who values art and civility, can look past the violence, then maybe she can too.
And meanwhile, Coach Shannon confirms the inevitable to Finn again, repeating that sentiment, "You're a goner, kiddo." This repeated line, it doesn't just restate his compromise, it reinforces for the listener that Finn's discipline is eroding slowly, inexorably, under the pressure of his emotional investment.
The waiting game, thank goodness, ends explosively in Chapter 11, Manifest Destiny, and the truth doesn't come from Finn.
No, it's forced out by Santana Lopez, Rachel's ferocious and, very protective best friend.
Santana confronts Finn, she punches him right in the gut and demands to see his files.
And Finn's defense is so revealing. He just says, "I fell for her when I shouldn't have, but I swear there was no stopping it." He accepts the immediate physical punishment and the emotional fallout.
Santana's verdict on this is so complex. She calls his love human, but also selfish. Selfish because he took the connection, knowing the betrayal would be devastating.
But then she also concedes he is exactly who she needs in her life, despite the obvious mortal danger.
This is a critical point, though. Was his initial silence truly selfish? Or was it a necessary survival mechanism to buy time and physically save Rachel's life from the contract?
That's the ultimate moral quandary of this trope, isn't it?
Yeah.
Had he confessed on day one, she would have dismissed him, and that second fixer would have succeeded in the hit long ago. He prioritized her physical survival over her emotional peace.
And Santana, recognizing this sort of utilitarian choice, demands to join the Ajax team. She says, I want to see behind the curtain to keep Rachel safe.
She accepts the dark reality of his world faster than Rachel does.
The ultimate truth bomb, however, is delivered by Rachel herself when she discovers the dossier. She finds her college headshot, his cryptic military logbook entries.
And all those familiar code names like Peta, Lopez, Hummel, Majestic.
Peta, Lopez, Hummel. These names show the depth of his surveillance. She realizes her entire social circle was mapped, tracked, and logged by the man she loves. She confronts him, trembling, and just asks, what is this?
And Finn admits it, accepting the consequences. Telling you the truth, I knew it would mean hurting you and losing you. He's accepted the fallout.
Which leads us immediately to the crisis point in Chapter 12. The show must go.
Rachel is just caught on this moral tightrope. She acknowledges the absurdity of it all. Secret gigolos and kill dossiers, isn't that where most people would draw a line?
But she realizes the love endures. Her internal struggle is intense, but she knows she has to perform anyway.
And during the performance, the stakes shift entirely from emotional betrayal to mortal reality. Puck confirms Finn took sniper fire outside the theater.
So the second fixer is real, active, and targeting them.
And then a missed shot at Rachel near the limo proves the unknown threat is looking to take her out right now.
At the same time, the investigative threads all tie up.
Yeah, Santana and Mike, using a newly hacked webcam feed, confirmed that the internet troll, JBI, was hired by Sugar Mata. This reveals Sugar was the puppet master behind Weston all along.
So the entire mission, the fake dossier, the smear campaign, the second fixer, it was all engineered by a single, wealthy, unhinged individual.
And this is also where we see the final transition of Finn's surveillance log. The notes have moved entirely from clinical intelligence to a private diary. He's got entries like, Day 19, she's saying under her breath, made me smile anyway.
The original contract is now just an artifact. His loyalty is absolute and personal.
The relationship reaches its crisis. Rachel orders Finn to stay away, needing space to process this horrific betrayal. But her internal thoughts confirm the enduring nature of her love. She recognizes the complexity. She can't definitively say she would have run away even if he confessed up front. The bond is just stronger than the lie.
But the separation doesn't last long, which reflects that intense gravitational pull of their syzygy, as the source calls it. Chapter 13, Gravitational Pull, shows us the full reconciliation.
And it happens because Finn provides the context Rachel needed. He tells her his whole story. The closet, the foster care, the code built on vengeance, and even his hunting trips, which were a form of exposure therapy to channel his innate violence.
He explains he wanted to confess after her earlier mugging when they were at the cabin, but he just couldn't bring himself to steal her temporary peace.
And this brings us to relationship pro number 3, total acceptance and forgiveness. Rachel processes this history. She relates to his trauma. She focuses on his noble intentions. He was trying to fight a corrupt system and his inherent compassion.
She rolls him over, literally taking charge of the moment, and cements the reconciliation. We're meant to be, Finn. I can't be without you, ever.
But reconciliation doesn't mean safety. Immediately after this emotional breakthrough, new dangers emerge. While they're hosting Kurt and Blaine, Finn learns from Brody, who is still trying to manipulate the situation, that the second fixer is also targeting Brody himself and is still actively hunting Rachel.
Brody's message is terrifying. My girl apparently hired another helping hand, except she asked him to help you too.
And this is when Rachel realizes the police are useless. They did nothing for Kurt after his assault. Her choice is clear and it's radical.
She says, I understand now, Finn. I understand you, your world. She actively embraces the reality that Finn and Ajax are the only protective force she can trust.
This choice is so profound because it mirrors Finn's own original trauma, the abandonment by official systems. Rachel accepts the necessity of vigilante violence for her own survival.
And then the narrative flow shifts dramatically, right?
Yeah.
It interrupts this emotional arc with operational details. This is the Clarington Mata op the Ajax counterstrike.
Right. The focus is no longer on romance, but on ensuring survival. And this is a segment that needs a little expansion because it was kind of glossed over before. The hits on Sugar Mata's father, Mata Sr., and a key associate Clarington are critical.
Why them specifically?
Well, Mata Sr. represents the financial infrastructure that funded the initial dossier and the subsequent fixers. Clarington is targeted as a necessary operational threat, likely tied to the second fixer or maybe even larger, existing Ajax adversaries.
So the success of these hits is vital because it proves Finn's absolute dedication and the efficacy of Ajax.
Exactly. Rachel just chose Finn over the police. The successful elimination of the primary financial and operational threats validates that difficult, violent choice immediately. It solidifies their united front.
Which brings us to Chapter 15, Syzygy Part 2 Penumbra, set during the Christmas parade. That chapter title itself is hugely symbolic.
It is. Syzygy, in astronomy, it means the alignment of three celestial bodies in a straight line, like the Earth, the Sun, and the Moon. Metaphorically, it's implying the alignment of Finn, Rachel, and their shared violent reality into a single, stable system.
And the mortal stakes are driven home one last time here. We learn the second fixer, Brody, makes a sniper's mistake.
Brody, who is terrified of both Sugar and Ajax, intended to take the shot at Rachel, but he hits her understudy, Jessa, who was wearing Rachel's costume and makeup for the parade.
Finn's reaction is the definitive proof of his love. Believing Rachel is dead, he bolts. He runs down 10 flights of stairs, his pulse slamming. His panic is total. He completely abandons the operational distance that's required of him.
The danger is immediate and real, but the relationship bond, which is fueled by that panic, is stronger than any self-preservation instinct he has.
Back at the cabin, Mike confirms the success of the Mata and Clarington hits. So the external threat has been neutralized, at least temporarily.
And Finn agrees to hunt Clarington's operative because the attack on Rachel made it personal. His mission is now entirely fueled by protective instinct, not the code.
The chapter concludes with their symbolic reunion, what you could call relationship reward number 1.
Yeah. Rachel, despite the trauma and her own illness, she created their first Christmas at the cabin. A small tree, gingerbread, Bing Crosby. She is actively creating the home life and the peace that Finn has craved his entire life.
And this moment is centered entirely on shared vulnerability and profound trust, which is encapsulated in the gifts they exchange. Rachel gives Finn her deceased father's compass locket, engraved BJA.
We have to pause here and define this critical symbolism. The BJA engraving, it signifies her most valuable possessions, her deepest ties. We can probably extrapolate that BJA refers to key familial figures in her life. Maybe the B is for Bert, her protective figure, or even an ancestor.
So giving Finn this locket, her most valuable possession, it symbolizes complete, total trust and direction. She's asking him to guide her, and she's trusting him with her history.
Finn reciprocates with a hand-carved snow globe featuring a Central Park scene. It's a replica of one his mother owned. This connects directly back to his trauma from Chapter 2.
His mother's suicide left him isolated.
Right. So giving Rachel the snow globe is an act of total vulnerability. He's sharing the last tangible link to his past and entrusting her with his own quest for internal peace.
In that moment of Syzygy, Finn realizes she made us Christmas.
They profess their love, and Finn whispers the ultimate promise that completely overrides the code. I've got you, always. No one's touching you while I'm around.
Okay, now that we have successfully traversed this complex, nonlinear emotional and operational arc, we have to synthesize the risks and rewards to deliver a final verdict. Is this relationship viable?
Let's start with the risks, because they are immense and perpetual. Rachel is now fully entangled with Ajax, a vigilante organization. Perpetual danger is guaranteed because their enemies are deep-rooted, wealthy, and organized.
We mentioned them earlier, but we should probably analyze why these entities remain threats.
Yeah.
The Volcavs and Rothkavs. What are they?
They represent massive, entrenched, organized crime syndicates that Ajax targets for justice. They aren't going to just disappear. And then there's the mention of the morally bankrupt Will Schuster, a figure who seems to represent institutional corruption using his position for manipulation.
So the rot goes beyond simple organized crime and infects the very systems Rachel once trusted.
Which means Rachel has to compromise her independence and public safety for her career. She can't rely on conventional safety measures. She has to accept that Ajax is now the only trusted authority in her life.
She has also chosen to embrace the dark necessity of violence, agreeing to train with Shannon, becoming an active participant in her own protection.
Right. But let's balance this against the rewards. The moment of truth, the biggest risk of all, the assassination attempt, the betrayal, it actually acted as a purifying fire. They achieved complete emotional honesty post-confession. There are no more secrets about their individual darknesses.
So their bond resulted in total mutual acceptance of each other's trauma and worldview. Finn broke his foundational code, the law he lived by to save her.
And Rachel, conversely, chose the necessary violence for her survival over her idealistic aversion to guns and secrecy.
This mutual dedication, where they stepped willingly into each other's worlds, it intensified their bond rather than dissolving it. It's the ultimate paradox.
The relationship could only succeed once the initial lie was exposed and the violence was accepted as a permanent reality.
So what's the verdict? Success or failure?
I think the source material implies a definitive success, labeling their outcome as syzygy. Despite the toxic, deceptive foundation, the relationship works because they navigated and survived the worst possible scenario, an assassination attempt predicated on a lie. Finn chose Rachel over the code, and Rachel chose Finn over her fear and her aversion to violence.
So Finn finds the peace and purpose he craved through his commitment to protecting her.
And Rachel finds a security and acceptance in his darkness that her squeaky clean life never provided. They are aligned.
However, we have to conclude with that final, highly provocative thought that the source material leaves us with. It points to the next inevitable conflict.
Exactly. The immediate threats, Brody, Clarington, Mata Sr., and JBI, they've been neutralized or they're dead. But the true puppet master, Sugar Mata, is alive, completely deluded, and mourning her father.
And Sugar is described as narcissistic and certifiable. She already hired 2 fixers to eliminate Rachel for what were basically perceived slights. Now she's suffering real loss. Her father and her boyfriend are gone.
And she knows Finn Hudson, the handsome man she met at the gallery, was connected to Rachel and her inner circle.
The danger is that she will eventually connect the dots.
Right. How long until Sugar realizes that Finn and the Ajax crew are responsible for the simultaneous deaths of everyone who disappointed her and failed to deliver Rachel Brody, JBI, Mata Sr., and Clarington's thugs?
Once she connects Finn Hudson to the death of her father and her associates, she will have a clear, personal, and devastatingly precise target.
Her vengeance, fueled by generational wealth, zero morality, and now genuine grief, will be unleashed. And she won't be targeting an anonymous RBB anymore. She'll know exactly who to target, Finn and his beloved Big Nose. That is the next and potentially most dangerous chapter waiting to be written.
A relationship built on love and lethal dossier, even one that achieves syzygy, it requires eternal, perfect vigilance.
That alignment they achieved will be immediately tested by the chaos and revenge of the one enemy who remains completely underestimated.
A truly gripping analysis of complexity, choice, and consequences. Thank you for helping us navigate the complicated, non-linear, and utterly gripping arc of Finn and Rachel.
Always a pleasure to dive deep into complexity, no matter the source, and to analyze those relationships that define success not by ease, but by survival.
And to you, our listener, continue seeking deeper understanding in complex situations, recognizing that sometimes the greatest love stories are born from the deadliest betrayals. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.